Hello and welcome to episode 141 of Daryl Show Your Work. All right, so since in my most recent videos, I've gone through and shown how we can manually gather enumeration data from a compromised Windows host, I wanted to then move on to showing how we can then automate this entire process when accounting for efficiency and time. All right, by using a piece of software in order to gather all of this information. All right, so before I dive any further into this, I wanted to preface this video with my usual disclaimer, since I'm going to be running through the entire exploitation process in this video by saying that this is for educational, research, and ethical purposes only, and that any malicious activity that may directly or indirectly come from someone watching this video, I do not take responsibility for, nor do I condone. Okay, so the method in which I'm going to actually be automating this enumeration, this what is post exploitation enumeration process, is by using something called JAWS, which is short for just another Windows enumeration script. All right, so what it is, it's a PowerShell script designed to help ethical hackers to quickly identify potential privilege escalation vectors on the Windows system. All right, so since it was written using PowerShell 2.0, it should run on every Windows operating system since 7. All right, so as far as any sort of incompatibility, hopefully that won't be the case here when trying to run this against our target host. All right, so as usual, I've done some pre-recording discovery here where my IP address is .10.10.48.4, and our target is located at 10.3.31.209. All right, so I'm going to actually be starting this off not by running an nmap scan, but actually by paying a visit to where this JAWS script can be found to download into my local directory. All right, so once I have that here, then eventually once we gain access to the target host, we want to upload it there so then I can run it on the target host and then begin the enumeration process on it. All right, so let's make a visit to it's actually on a GitHub repository. So I should have it here in my history, which I do. So it's located at www.github.com/411 hauled slash jaws. All right. So now that I'm there, all right, I'm this is the home repository for jaws. All right. So I want to click on the actual script here, which is jaws-enum.ps1. Okay, now that I'm here, we can see the code, but I want access to the raw code so I can copy that directly to my local machines directory. So I'm gonna click the raw button, and then I'm gonna do Control A to highlight everything on the page, and then right click it and copy all of this. I'm gonna head back over to my machine here, and then I'm gonna use the text editor then to create the script on my end. So I'm saying nano, and I'm gonna name it the same thing that it was named on the in its home repository, and it's gonna be jaws-enum.ps1. And let's scoot this over here so it's just not in the way, because a lot of the stuff that I'm going to be doing is actually going to be on the left side of the screen. All right, there we go. Okay, so I'm gonna hit enter there to begin the process of creating this. So I'm gonna paste the raw code that I got from the repository into here, and I'm say Control X to exit out and Y to save. All right, so now that we've got that saved in my local directory, I could just make sure it saved everything the way I want it to by listing out what's in my local directory here, and we can see that that JAWS dash enum script is in there. So next thing I want to do is be able to find a vulnerability on our target host. All right, by again running a more automated process, accounting for both time and efficiency, and that's of course using the Metasploit framework. So I can get that started by first starting up the PostgreSQL database. All right, and then I want to combine that with the step of starting up the MSF console. All right, that's loading up. All right, so as usual, I'm gonna start things off by creating a workspace for myself, and I'm gonna create a workspace, and I'm gonna name it JAWS. So I'm gonna say workspace dash A, capital J, AWS, and then I'm also going to set our target host as a global parameter, so I don't have to continue to configure that if I jump from module to module here. All right, so now I'm going to actually run the nmap scan here inside of Metasploit, and I'm just going to do a simple service scan. But you know what? Since we're running with this against a Windows-based target, I'm going to aim this specifically at port 5985, which hosts the WinRM protocol. All right. So, and I'm going to try to run a remote code execution vulnerability against it. And so, to give just a brief overview of what WinRM is, it's actually short for Windows Remote Management, and it's a Microsoft technology that uses the WS management protocol to allow IT professionals to manage remote computers and hardware from a single location. So it also enables tasks such as running scripts, gathering management data, and performing remote command line operations. And it's a core component of features like PowerShell or remoting. All right. And again, that's going to be running on port 5985. So I'm going to specify that here. Right, I guess port 5985. All right, and then of course I have to give it the target IP. All right, so let's aim it there and let's see if that port is open, and then I'm going to try to run an exploitation against the protocol if it is. It looks like it is. All right, so now I'm gonna say search winrm to see what I have available to me. All right, so we have the one exploitation um, um, module here. All right, and that does exactly what I'm looking to do, which is that remote code execution. So because its module ID is 4, I'm gonna just say use 4. All right, so some other pre-recording things I've done here. I've gathered some credentials that I'm going to use here as far as authenticating, making this a credentialed um, um, exploitation. All right, so I'm going to plug those credentials into this module here and configuring it. Let's go to show options. Let's see what's going on. All right, so we can see that my IP address is set here as a listing host, and then as the L port, it's already set to port 4444, which is fine. Going up a little, all right, and then we see that there's a space here for username and password. So I'm going to be setting the credentials here, and I'm going to actually going to change this force VBS from false to true. All right, we can see the description here where it says force the module to use the VBS command stager. So I'm gonna have it to do that. And everything else, we can see that our host has already been set globally, since that was one of the first things I did once coming into the MSF console. And then our port is by default is going to be set to 5985, since that is the default winrm port, and that's the protocol that I'm targeting here. All right, so in order to set those credentials up, I'm going to say set username, and I'm going to set that to administrator, and then I'm going to set the password up. I'm going to set that to Tinkerbell, and then I'm going to set force underscore VBS to true. All right, and let's run that. Let's exploit it, and let's gain entry into the target host. All right, so ultimately, what I'm looking to do once I'm in here, I want to be able to see if I could find a temporary directory to store this file into. So I don't want any users, especially administrators, to be able to find our enumeration script. And if there's not one available, then I could create one. All right, so started off here. Let's just do our preliminary enumeration here. So I'm going to do sysinfo. All right, so this is good. So remember, we want something that's Windows 7 or higher. So this is good as far as it running Windows Server 2019. So as far as operating system compatibility, that doesn't seem to be an issue. Another great thing, we can see that I'm running a 64-bit interpreter session, while this operating system is running on a 64-bit architecture. So again, compatibility of my interpreter session is not going to be a problem here with the architecture. So if I also say get UID just to see what account that I may be logged in as, or what my level of privileges may be as far as my ability to execute certain commands, we see I have full system authority, which is great. So I shouldn't be limited as far as the commands I could run here. All right, so the next thing I want to do is I want to be able to see what drives are available in this system to get an idea of where I'm currently located. All right, so in order to do that, I'm going to say show underscore mount, and this is going to return to me a list of all the disk drives, whether they're fixed or removable, that are connected to this target host. All right, so we see there's only one available, so that tells me that more than likely I am on the C drive. So so I want to go back to the root of the C drive to be able to find that temporary folder to hide and run this enumeration script inside of. So I'm gonna say cd, and then c colon, and backslash, and this should take me to the root. All right, looks like that worked. So let's see what's in there by doing dir, and that's going to list out the contents of the directory. All right, looks like a long list, but fortunately it is in alphabetical order. So I'm just going to scroll up a bit to the T's and see if we could find any temporary um, directories. So I'm looking for TM. No, not seeing anything as far as TM. Let's see if there's any TMPs. TEs, I'm in the TEs. No, I don't. So it looks like there's no temporary directory available. So I'm going to create one. So I'm going to say mkdir and capital T, no, capital T and then temp. All right, so this should create that temporary directory for me. All right, so I'm going to enter into this new directory. All right, so now I'm inside of that temporary folder. I'm going to actually place the script that I downloaded. All right, and to my local directory here, and I'm going to upload this to the temporary folder here within our target host now that I'm inside. So in order to do that, that's real simple. I'm just say upload and give it the name of the file. All right, I don't know why it just did that. All right, so the name of that file is jaws enum.ps1. All right, now if I do a dir, just to make sure that it's in there, looks like that's in there. So now I'm gonna have to execute the shell in order to execute this, and that's going to take me to the Windows command line interface. All right, so we can see that I'm still in the temporary folder here. So in order to execute this file, there's a few things that I want to do. All right, so I want to actually use the PowerShell application. So I'm going to say PowerShell.exe. All right, and then going full circle back to my very first video. I'm going to run I'm going to run a command that's going to bypass the execution policy. So I'm going to say dash execution policy bypass, and then I want to specify what file then that I want it to bypass the execution policy for, and then to execute. So I'm gonna say dash file, and then usually to execute from the Windows command line PowerShell, you have to do a period and then backslash to specify the file name. So in this instance, it's going to be jaws dash enum dot ps1. All right, and then I want to output the I want to output the data that's collected to a text document. So I'm gonna say output file name, and I'm gonna specify the name of that document. I'm gonna call it jaws dash enum dot txt. All right, so just checking my syntax here. All right, so let's give this a few, and we should see the fruits of our labor. All right, now that that has finished, all right, so let's get to downloading this file here. All right, so first things first, let's just make sure that that text file is in my local directory here. All right, so we can see that jaws-enum.txt file is there. All right, so I'm gonna do a Control C to terminate this, and I'm going to download this using my interpreter into my local directory, and then we're going to just take a look at what that file looks like. All right, so I'm gonna say Control C to terminate the shell channel. All right, and then again, that command to get this into my local directory is real simple. Just simply download, and then the file name. So that file name is jaws-enum.txt, and that should. All right, so we got that there. All right, so now I can exit out of interpreter and then out of Metasploit. All right, now that we're back into my local directory here, let's list out to see make list things out to see if it's in there. All right, so we can see JAWS dash enum dot text is there. So let's just take a look at that. So let's see. Matter of fact, I could just open up my file manager. It should be in there. Here it is. It's right here. All right. So let's take a look. As a matter of fact, let's open that up. Let's see. Open with mouse pad. Okay, there we go. Let's take a look to see what we got going on here. All right. So we can see we have, as far as users, all right, from the get-go, it's giving us some great information. So we have both username and passwords for some local accounts. So we have the administrator, well, not password, excuse me, usernames and groups. All right, so we have the administrator account, which we know already exists because that's the account that I was using. We have an auditor account, which is simply in the users group. We have something called a default account. We have a demo account, a guest account, a sysadmin account. All right, and then it looks like just a utility account, which isn't assigned to any groups. All right, then going down, we can see the network information here. All right, so we can see the subnet mask, the IP address, which we already knew. All right. Going down, we can see the ARP table, which gives us those MAC addresses of all we see the IP addresses along with the MAC addresses of all the machines that are logged into that particular network. And we see that they have dynamic addresses assigned to them. And the ones below here, these are static. All right, and then we see those running processes as far as what protocols or ports that they are using, what state they're in. So we see which ones are listing states, which ones have established connections. Here we can see my IP address with the port 4444 being utilized, and so we know that that was my interpreter session at the time that this enumeration was done. All right, let's see. Scrolling down here, of course we can see the process ID, firewall status. We can now see actually have confirmation that the firewall is disabled, which is always a good thing as far as letting us know, what manner defenses are in place and if those defenses are currently down. All right, then we can see firewall rules, which again, so now we can see what the rules are as far as ingress and egress into the network. All right, so this is going down a little more. All right, so it's a host file content. All right, we can see that information here, and then going down to some more of the processes, we can see which processes are running, and then where they're located on the system here. All right, so we can see those exe files running, who owns those processes, and again, where those processes being executed from within the system directories. This is going down a little more here. All right, then we have a full list of scheduled tasks. All right, so we could see what tasks are being scheduled. Again, we could use this as a means of determining which ones can be exploited for privilege escalation if needed. Now, we didn't need that as far as when I entered the system because I had full system authority. But in case we didn't and we were just normal regular users, or we had privilege session, but there was still even more room for us to escalate our privileges further, we would take a look at this information and determine, okay, how can we exploit any of these scheduled tasks in order to increase our privileges even more. All right, so just going down here. So it's quite a lot of information. So this is just showing how, all that information that I spread across 4 videos, we were able just to get in a matter of minutes here by running this JAWS script, and just how powerful it is, and just how um, valuable this information is as far as determining the next set of actions that we may want to take as ethical hackers here, in terms of trying to further elevate our privileges, or further exploit any of other vulnerabilities present, or even pivoting to other systems within the network. So just trying to find to see this. This is why I said in the video where I covered the scheduled tasks, why it's important to save this in a separate document, because you're seeing here we're still going down all these different scheduled tasks, and just how robust that information is. Now we're into services. Now, so now we can see what services are running, which ones are stopped, and it also gives us a brief description of what the services are. All right, so this is coming down. So it's a lot of valuable information that would take quite a bit amount of time to analyze, but it's valuable nonetheless. And we can see a list here of installed programs. Given how a lot of these appear to be AWS related, I think it's fair to say that this is probably EC2 instance running. And then we could also see the installed patches, the hot fix IDs, and what dates that they were installed in. So, like I said in previous video, we can look up these hot fix IDs on the internet and research what they're associated with. And the main ones that are going to stand out for us are those security related patches. So we know which security patches are installed, which ones are not, and it gives us a better idea of what attack vectors may be available to us. All right, going through the program folders here. All right, we can see what programs are installed within the C drive, which is the main hard drive of this machine, since it's the only drive available on the machine. All right, then we can see the full control modified accesses, um, which um, folders have these sort of accesses with the administrator account. And as far as map drives, again, it did that same show mount command, so we could see that C is the only map drive that it found. And then as far as potentially interesting files and user directories, didn't find anything there, but we get a list of the last modified files here. All right, so we can see where those are here on the system. And then system files and password, nothing came back there. As far as stored credentials, all right, currently stored credentials, it's telling us exactly what where to go as far as finding stored credentials. All right, so that is very this is very interesting right here. It's checking for auto admin log on. All right, so um, apparently it didn't really find anything, because if it did, it would have told us what the password is. So that's basically JAWS in a nutshell. This is a great tool to use to quickly enumerate a ton of information, to then for us to go back, analyze, and then determine the next course of action to take based upon the findings here and the saved documentation. All right, so please like, share, and subscribe. Most importantly, show your work. And until next time, take care and God bless.